In this session, we are going to learn about Python logging. Why should we use logging? When we execute our script, we need to document what happened during execution. So what are all the necessary messages to be conveyed if someone else is looking at our execution logs. So if I want to check at this point of time what happened during this execution, I should know if the script writer has provided what happened at that particular time using log. So to do that, we have one module in Python called logging. Okay, let's import this module. Then we need to create our log object. I'm going to create like this: logging.getLogger. This will get one logger object for us. Through this log only, we'll be writing our different types of logs. You can see these are the different types of logs: debug log, information log, and warning, error, and critical log. So this is the order which it takes a priority. If we specify the log level, minimum log level as debug, then all the information will be considered. If we specify like error, though you have printed a log using log.warning, it will not be considered. So let's see those scenarios. Here I am going to specify logging.basicconfig. What is this basic config? Here we need to specify what are all the information to be printed by default when you specify these log messages. So to do that, we have one argument format. In this format, Python has its own formatted objects which we can use. So let's see what are those. These are the formatters. Here you can see name of the logger, level name, which is like information or error or warning, what type of message that is. Here you can see, and this is a function name if that log line is inside any function, and mostly we need this level names and line number, at which line number this message got triggered, and this ASC time. This is a human readable time of the log entry. So let's use these three. First one is this time. You need to specify like this. Okay, then after that I'm going to give one dash. Then the next one, level name. First I'm going to print time, then what type of message that one is, then I am printing line number. So how the log format will be: time hyphen which type of log, then hyphen what is the line number which triggered this log. Okay, now we need to print our message, whatever the message we want to convey. Here you have the logged message. So let's copy this and enter like this. Okay, now we have created this. Let's mention our minimum log level. To mention that, you need to use logging module, then mention, first let's mention debug. So the first order, so whatever the log we are adding, everything will be visible in the screen. So let's check all these 4 logs. Let me write one sample so we can see the difference between the log levels when we change here. So I am writing one debug log.debug. This is debug log. Okay, likewise I'm going to copy, multiple times. Okay, here I have debug. Instead of that I'm going to print info. Here warning. This is also warning. Okay, another one is error. This is a sample of error log. Here critical. This one also critical. So I have printed 5 lines. Let's see how it's coming here. So let's run this. You can see all these 5 lines in the order. You can see debug is printed here from line number 8. You can see the time and the type of log message, then the line number 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, everything got printed. Okay, now I'm going to change the level to info. So let's see, I have changed to info. Let me run this now. You can see info is printed, but you can see though we have printed a log message for debug, it's not considered here. That's what the minimum log level plays a role here. Okay, now if you change to error, the logs which are above error only will be considered. Let's run this. We run. Now we can see error and above. Error got printed and critical got printed. So all of the above in debug, info and warning, these 3 were not considered. That's what this minimum log level you need to mention here. Okay, now we have printed the log in the screen. What if you want to store this log in a file? Here we have file name as well. You mention testlog.log. Okay, now let's run this script. Okay, here nothing got printed, but we can check the log here, test log. You see, same entry now has been forwarded to a file. Okay, now this is how we print a log into file. Okay, here we have one more option, file mode. By default, this file mode will be append. So append meaning if you run this again, all your log will be keep on appending to this file. Like this it will be going on. Okay, let me change this level to debug so we can see everything. Okay, now I am going to change this file mode. I don't want to keep my old logs. I always want to overwrite the existing log. In that case, you specify W and run. It printed. Now we can see all the existing logs got removed and only this got printed. This is how the basic logging functionality works. This is more than enough to start with logging module, and there are a lot of other stuff which you can explore further once you are comfortable with this stuff. Now we are going to learn exceptions. What is exception? When you attempt to do something, if you face any error, your Python script will be stopped. So that scenario first, let's explore. Then we'll see how to handle the situation. So what I am going to do here, I have number A, which is 5, and B, which is 0. I'm trying to print A divided by B. So logically what should happen? We cannot divide 5 divided by 0, but 0 divided by 5 will be giving the result as 0. So let's run this. You got this error and your script got terminated. So let's see. I am having one more statement here. Script completed successfully. Okay, let me run this. You see, this line will not be executed because the script will be stopped here itself. You can see this error occurred here, so it got stopped. So in case if you know this stuff, there is a chance of getting exception or error here, then you can use our exception handling. How to handle these exceptions in Python? We have try catch block, try except block. In other programming languages you will say try catch. In Python it's try except. What I am going to say, it's a very literal meaning, just try this block, and if there is any exception, This is exception object. As E is like, what is that exception? What is the error message? So print string of E. I am converting this exception object as string so we can see what exactly is the error. This is the error. Okay. Now this is the syntax. Now let's do the same statements inside this. So it will attempt to do this operation. If this get any error or exception, the control will come here. It will be printing this and it will keep on executing our script. That's the main part. Let's run this now. I ran. What it said? Division by 0 is the error, but it executed this line as well. So like this, we handle the exception. Is it possible to handle the exception for multiple conditions? So here you can see the type of exception using this type. So let's check. Okay, the type of exception is 0 division error. Okay, you can handle this exception in specific. In that case, you can handle like this: except 0 division error as E and print str. Okay, let's run this. Okay, you got the same. So like this also you can catch the exception if you are aware that these are all the possible exceptions. Okay, so now I have handled 0 division error. Is there a only chance for this exception? No. When there is a scenario like I may have multiple exceptions which I am aware of or I may not be aware of. So this exception I am aware of, but there can be some other exceptions which I don't know. In that case, you can have one more except to handle this generic exception. This will handle all the exceptions if that is not explicitly mentioned here. It will check if there is any error in these 3 statements. First it will check whether it's a 0 division error. If it is there, it comes to this point and execute this and come out. And if the error is not this type of exception, then the execution will come here and print. Okay. Now let's say I have some set of statements which needs to be executed at the end at any cost, whether it's whether there is an error or not. I should execute some specific statements. In that case, you have a keyword finally, the literal meaning. So it handles everything. Finally execute this, whether it can be a proper output or some exception, I don't care. Whatever the statements you are giving here, it will be executed for sure. So let's say print except try catch completed. Okay, now let's see. I'm running this. You can see the output here. First division by 0 error, then try catch completed, then script completed successfully. Okay, let's change the value to B. Now there won't be any exception here, and let's see what are all getting printed. Let's run this. You can see this is the division value because I have printed here. It didn't go for any of these exceptions because there was no error. And finally got printed, try catch completed, then script completed successfully. So this is how we handle our exceptions while scripting. In next session, we'll see further topics. In this lesson, we are going to learn about configuration file. If you are familiar with web servers or if you have handled any database servers, then you should have familiar with configuration files as well. So configuration file is nothing but the data which is required for the script to proceed. So this is the example configuration file. Here I have general. This is how we mention the section. There can be different section in config file, and that will be mentioned like this, like student info. This is a section, and name is, we can say, John, and class is 10th. So like that, a config file can be there. These are sections, and these are keyword values. These sections are nothing but the logical grouping of configuration data. So let's see in Python how to read this configuration file. To do that, we have one module called config parser. So why I am using this from keyword here? As of now, we were using import only. Here I am using from. So first I will show you how to use import. Okay, we know this. Let's see what are all the available options here. DAR of config parser. Okay, let's run this first. I ran this. Okay, here you can see these are all the available classes and attributes and methods. First, we need to create this object, config parser. To do that, if I put import config parser, I'm going to use only this particular class. But why should we import all the module when I'm going to use only this particular class? In that scenario, you can do a specific import. So literally the same meaning, from this package I'm going to import only this config parser. So now all the objects and attributes will not be loaded into memory. Only this particular class will be loaded into memory. Now I'm going to create one variable config, which is nothing but my config parser object. From this I'm creating one object here. So this parser object is config now. Okay, now I am going to use this config dot read. What is this read? I have created object, but I haven't said anywhere what is the config file I should use here. In that scenario, you use test.ini. This is a file here. Let's see whether it's in correct place or not. It's inside temp dir. So let's specify the exact path, temp underscore dir slash test.ini. Now let's try to print this config object and let's see what it gives. Print. You can see config parser object has got created. Now we should read this config, right? First let's check what are all the sections here. Here's the method which will give us the section names. So let's run this. You can see one general and one student information section is available. Now if I want to read this value, sample is the key and test is the actual data for this key. We want to read that, print config dot get method. First I should mention the section, then the option, which is nothing but our key. Section is general and the key is sample. So likewise I'm going to get the name from student info. If you specify any key which does not exist, general new, we'll get an exception. So let's run all these three statements. Let me clear this. Run. No section name, general new. But before that you can see test and John. Test is this name's value and John is this name's value. Sample value is test and name value is John. That's what it printed here. It couldn't find general underscore new section in this configuration file. That's why this error got raised. For this kind of errors, you can use the try catch or exception handling, which we discussed in the previous session. You can use here as well to avoid that. Try to get this value. If you don't find that value, no problem. Just exception as E and print string of E. That's it. Let's run again. So if it is available, it will be printing. Otherwise, it will print what is the error. No section, general new. So it won't abort the script. It will be handling that exception gently. So that's how we read config file using Python config parser module.